So today I learned a lesson about man-made stuff being in our lives and it causing a consequence in terms of our relationship with God. So I have had a pre-workout supplement. I haven't had a pre-workout supplement in years because my health has been in the dumpster, and every time that I've gone even close to something so man-made or synthetic, then it causes all of these inflammatory triggers. But I've been in such a state recently that I'm pretty sure I'd be able to handle it, and so I invested in a pre-workout supplement. I was telling somebody earlier today that it's just strictly for fun, that there is absolutely no universe in which a pre-workout supplement with a bunch of isolated like amino acids and nootropic compounds and creatine and huperzine and uh, citrulline and all of these. It's a ridiculous freak of nature Frankenstein creation that you would never find growing in a bush somewhere. It's strictly for luxury and pleasure of the flesh. And even the sweeteners is like I think there's sucralose in there and acylfame potassium, and it's like just all the way through. Man. And I've been putting this off for a few days. I've had it in the mail for like 4 or 5 days now, and finally today I got around to trying it, and you know what it did? It numbed me. I take the pre workout, and then I realize that I should probably have something to eat before I go into the gym. So I drive over to a grocery store, and I park deliberately next to something that I would know where I parked, like a pole or something. And I walk in the store, and I just feel like I'm in a daze. Like I know that I'm in there for rice cakes, and I'm trying to figure out where the rice cakes are, man. Like, I'm, I'm looking. I went to I'm like, oh, maybe it's in the international foods. No, it's not there. Maybe it's like with the boxed rice and the canned stuff. No, it's not there. Oh, it's at the other end of the store with the bread. I don't know why it's there with the bagels and all that. But nonetheless, I'm just. It takes me like 10 or 15 minutes of just wandering around, and I feel numb. I'm like not making eye contact with anybody. I think the whole time I was in there, I maybe only made eye contact with the cashier at the very end, and that was it. Then I go back out into the parking lot, and I swore up and down that I knew where I parked, and I'm having basically a brain aneurysm. I don't know, like I couldn't remember where I parked. I'm for the first time in months, I'm out there like hitting the key, trying to figure out where my car is, and just going back and forth, just looking like a zombie, to be honest with you. I get in the car and then I drive across the street to the gym, and I'm like, man, I don't even know if I want to work out right now. But hey, the reason why I took the pre-workout was so that I could work out and be numb right now, so I could go and beat myself up, and it would be a little bit more enjoyable because I don't feel as much pain, and my brain has been selectively like turned off to the pain receptors, and I'm also stimulated at the same time, right? That's pretty much the point of a pre-workout. At least that's what I realized during this episode. So I go in the gym, and I'm like inexplicably annoyed with everybody in there. It's like there are there are like I get on the turf, right? And there's people who are just they're walking right in front of me, and I'm like in my head I'm just judging them, like I'm looking at people, I'm like I'm just having all these judgmental thoughts, right? That were never there before, and I'm just inexplicably annoyed. But nonetheless, I am numb. I will say again. And so I continue to do the workout even though I really haven't been properly eating for the last 24 hours. I don't really have too much energy to expend. Nonetheless, I drive off. I go and pick up meat somewhere. Girl asked me to like pull up my mask as I walk a guy as I watch a guy walk out of the back who works there who had his mask down, and it's at a meat market. Like, but she's asking me, and I kind of like gave her a little tiff about that. Like, didn't you see homeboy that just walked out? Like he doesn't have a mask on, but like I don't work here. Nonetheless, I dropped it. I bought some meat, and then I'm driving home. And normally, I got like a 30-40 minute drive. That has not been an issue whatsoever for the past several months. But all of a sudden, I find myself like annoyed that I'm in slow traffic, and it feels like an eternity. I'm like 20 minutes in the car, and I'm like, dude, I could have just been home yesterday, man. Like, I feel so bad. Finally, at this point, I broke and I just confessed to God. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I knew that I was corrupting my flesh. I knew that I was defiling the holy temple whenever I did that. And I blatantly told somebody that it was just for fun, that it's just a luxury to do for fun. And, there was a great burden that that left me at that moment. And I got home fine, right? But the lesson is that, I guess if there were a lesson, it's that the more man-made stuff that I cut out of my life, then the closer to God that I feel. And it's everything. It's not just like entertainment and like dirty jokes and vulgar profanity and like the actual foods and the chemicals that are in them that I'm eating. Um, it's just it's when I say it's not just those things, I mean to say that it's all things that are man-made, that are not of God's creation, because He promises that He will give us food and raiment, and that food is not some mysterious powder that has all of these implications of more or less like subtly selectively poisoning ourselves so that our brain is turned off to the damage that's actually being done. I mean, clearly defiling the holy temple. Pre-workouts are still fun, man. I'm not gonna go against you there. But the consequences of sinning are not fun. And God's chastening is not fun. And feeling distanced away from God is the most lonely thing. Inexplicable. If you've been close to the Holy Spirit and you know what that snowball feels like, there's nothing like getting cut off from God for a little while when He hides His face from you. But the good news is that He is righteous to forgive us of all of our uncleanness, and He will show His face again whenever we confess.